All right. Hi, everybody. We want to welcome you tonight to Morpho Metamorphosis. It's just wonderful to have so many people showing up for this evening with us. We are excited to share what we've been up to and express a lot of gratitude to all of you who have supported this effort over the last 5 years. If you don't know me, I'm Krista Dillabaugh, and I'm the founding board member, and also the acting director of the Morpho Institute. And tonight I'm going to be joined by all of our new board members. But first off, I'd like to introduce Dr. Rosanna or Ro Ruiz. She is the board president, the brand new board president, and we're just super excited to have her on board. Before we get started, however, all of us being teachers, as educators, we really love a good agenda and a good outline for what we're going to talk about. So on tonight's agenda, we're going to move through the following process. We're going to talk a little bit about who Morpho is and kind of behind the scenes, what it is we do, the full scope of what we do, because most of you probably know us from one part or another. A quick little history of how we actually got here, celebrating some of the big successes that we've had, and then really dive into Morpho Metamorphosis and what we have on the agenda for the coming years as we look up into 2030. So I'm going to turn this over to Ro, and she's going to take it from here.
Thank you, Krista. Thank you, everybody, for making time to gather with us this evening. I'd like to start by taking a few moments to respectfully acknowledge the lands we each represent this evening through a land acknowledgement. Naming is an exercise in power, and who gets the right to name or be named? Whose stories are honored in a name and whose are erased? A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes the unique and enduring relationships that exist between Indigenous peoples and their traditional territories. They are simple yet powerful ways of showing respect and are a step toward correcting the stories and practices that erase Indigenous peoples' history and culture. They help us move toward inviting and honoring the truth. Our community today owes its existence and vitality to the generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on these lands for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. Today, I am coming to you from Fresno, California, the ancestral lands of the Yokuts and Mono peoples. As traditional stewards of this land, I honor their relationship and connection to this place, and I'm humbly grateful to join them in continued stewardship, paying respect to their elders, past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies and often current reality of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. Thank you for sharing this moment with me and for considering those who represent the places and spaces you are currently in. Krista, would you like to take us on the next step of tonight's journey?
Yeah, thanks, Ro. One of the things we really wanted to talk about is what drives the Morpho Institute. And as reflected in Ro's words and the land acknowledgement, I hope it makes it really clear that we care deeply about the people and the places where we work. That image that was on the screen from the land acknowledgement is actually looking out over the Mahuna ancestral lands in the northern Peruvian Amazon. And we are privileged to partner with them and work alongside them as part of our field programming while they're there. And we often get asked, why the Amazon? Why only go to the Amazon, and why specifically northern Peru? And our answer to that is that the Amazon needs us. It needs all of us as a critically important global resource. The Amazon is the world's largest unchecked tropical rainforest. It makes up 50% of the world's remaining rainforest. It's home to 1/10 of the Earth's plant and animal species. It contains 20% of the Earth's flowing fresh water. It stores and sequesters extensive amounts of carbon, and it regulates both the continental and global climate. To say that the Amazon is an important global ecosystem is an understatement. We risk its loss at our collective peril. So as a bunch of educators, our answer then to this situation has to be education. Morpho was founded by educators. We believe that education is a powerful conservation tool. In fact, maybe the most powerful tool there is. As the late great Rachel Carson said, the more clearly we focus our attention on the wonders and the realities of the universe about us, the less taste we will have for its destruction. And that applies not only to the Amazon, where we do most of our work and focus most of our energies, but it also applies to our home places and our home ecosystems and our home communities and our home histories. So our work as educators is to celebrate and highlight the Amazon and bring those lessons back home so that we can do the same thing better in our own home place. To that end, Morpho was founded by 3 educators, myself, a former middle and high school science educator, Dr. Kelly Keena, a geographer and an environmental educator by training, and Dr. Nancy Troutman, who is the former director of education for the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. To say that it took us a while to come up with a working mission and vision is an understatement. We really put a lot of energy and effort into this as we contemplated forming a nonprofit. And that mission and vision have served us really well over the last 5 years. And they're continuing to guide this new work as we move forward. Our vision reflects that as well. But more importantly, I think our core values reflect that. Our core values are not just pasted on the wall or stuck in a drawer. They literally guide every decision that we make, from how we run the organization to how we communicate with one another, to how we communicate with our alumni and our participants, how we build and create new programs, and how we even go about regenerating our legacy programs. Before I go any further, though, I do want to put a spotlight on the collaboration and connection for just a minute, because that is the foundation of so much of what Morpho does. We really want to acknowledge and thank Amazon Explorama Lodges and the thousands of acres that they protect in Peru. They provide us with the most amazing classroom on the planet. They also feed us, move us around, and genuinely bring so much joy into this work that we do. Also want to thank and appreciate Conapac, a Peruvian nonprofit that connects us to communities and teachers and students along the Amazon and Napo rivers. Proud to say that their new executive director, Megan McDaniel, is actually an alum of our programs. So Conapac is near and dear to us. And then also Whakanamai and Akumai, who are our Mayahuna partners and federations who are fighting to preserve their ancestral lands. And of course, it goes without saying, our amazing faculty for our field programs who donate their time and talent to make the magic happen that so many of you on the call tonight have experienced as participants. So I'm going to flip this back over to Ro now. And as our new president, Ro, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you said yes when Morpho came a knocking?
Absolutely. So for those of you that I have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, I actually have a lifelong connection to the natural world and this just deep-seated passion to help others make meaningful connections. I basically have one foot in the informal education world and one foot in the formal education world, and have been doing field-based environmental education for over 3 decades. So I'm kind of all in. And at one point I was doing some work with Fresno County Office of Ed and met 2 amazing ladies, Jennifer and Nikki, and they told me about this amazing professional development that they had attended and I should go, and they showed me pictures and told me stories. And that very day I went on the Morpho website and signed up. There wasn't even anything to sign up yet because it was in the fall, but I got on the waiting list. And ultimately, I was able to go, but that was my first connection, was hearing from alumni that were just really transformed by their experiences. These 2 pictures here kind of help me tell the story of my transformation, or what really kind of turns me on. as far as getting to know biodiversity. And that first one with the big buttresses of the tree behind my picture, it's a little bit hard to tell, but if I stood there, they would kind of make me look really tiny. They were just really amazing. And I fortunately live in a place where we have the large sequoias, so I had something relevant. And immediately I made the connection that, wow, I can show my students these huge trees and then reconnect them with their own place in space with the redwoods, things that they may not have been too familiar with. So immediately I started making connections. The picture on the right, that is a picture that probably explains why many of my hiking friends don't want to go exploring with me. As you can see, those little tiny bubbles are smaller than my fingertip. I could spend hours just looking at things that tiny. And I mean, if you look at those bubbles, it reminded me of like a Dr. Seuss world. And so I get really excited about that. I honestly couldn't tell you what those are, but I still think they're pretty amazing. And so just the biodiversity and being able to observe and explore and ask questions and bringing that excitement back home and sharing it with my own students, those are things that just really, I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see these opportunities for other educators. And so I really just wanted to help Morpho in any way I could to make these things happen. The other aspect of that was I actually did my doctoral research, basically based around my experience at my first professional development in the Amazon, and along with my cohort, and exploring the science of awe, the neuroscience of those awe experiences, and then the transformative nature of the experiences as the brain accommodates this new information. So all of that really lights me up. And again, these are things I want to see for other educators. And I'm going to jump to the next slide. Oh, thank you, Krista.
No worries.
I was like, where's my little thing? All right, so Morpho is engaged in a variety of ventures, but these three broad categories kind of encompass that work. And the professional development, kind of the flagship, these are those field-based experiences, that immersion that provides hands-on opportunities to just really begin to practice and understand some of the skills that we're helping our students to kind of explore. And this really helps to bridge that gap between theory and practice. And it's making those classroom connections, kind of like what I was talking about on the previous slide, like seeing those huge trees, right? Just amazing. And then realizing, wow, I have huge trees here in the area that I live in. I can introduce these things, but I can also help my students make a global connection on top of that. So the other piece of these classroom connections is really being able to work with a cohort and also alumni to find ways to bring the Amazon back into these classrooms and learn from each other. Community-based conservation is kind of near and dear to me. I actually have a background in conservation, local conservation in our area here, but being able to experience conservation from another lens and seeing how the local community is actually trying to conserve their place and space, and really looking at the differences of how we might do that in our own homes and how they do it where they are. So it's just really being able to make those connections and really helping others see, you know, through another lens, basically. Krista, would you like to share a little bit more about how we got here?
Yeah, thanks, Ro. We are a small organization and we are doing a lot. And it's also really, really important that we honor and remember how we actually got here. We've accomplished a lot since we launched in 2018, but there were a lot of people that did a lot of work before us. And we are standing on that legacy. So I just want to take you through a quick timeline of what that actually looks like, and shout out to some very key people that have built the foundation that Morpho is launching from. In 1991, maybe 92, one of those 2 years, my mentor, Dr. Francis Gatz, and Pam Bucher from Explorama Lodges started building out what they called Amazon workshops for teachers in Peru. I was fortunate that in 1993, as a young middle school teacher, somehow landed in the Amazon and became part of that second or third professional development program that they ever ran, and knew as I was standing in the middle of the Amazon, my career and my path was being transformed. I had actually no idea what that meant. Never could have conceived that I'd be sitting in this chair tonight. But here I am. In 2008, I reconnected with Frances and we began to collaborate on moving her organization forward and reconsidering and reconceiving what teacher professional development could look like in the Amazon. In 2013, the first Educator Academy was launched, and that was done in close collaboration with my dear friend, Dr. Mo Walters, and my other dear friend, Alan Stenstrup from Project Learning Tree. The three of us sat down, put our heads together, and said, we need to really turn this field experience into professional development with goals and objectives and outcomes that teachers can go after funding and that funders will support. So flash forward, we are getting ready to enter into our 11th Educator Academy. In 2018, so for a number of years, back up a minute, for a number of years, we had actually run the Educator Academy under a small LLC. In many conversations with faculty, including Nancy Troutman and Kelly Keena, we really started struggling with the fact that we just knew we needed to be able to access different levels of funding and different levels of outreach to make this feasible for teachers. And so literally on the banks of the Napo River, the Morpho Institute was conceived and founded literally in July. And by November, we actually had our nonprofit status. So again, a big shout out to Kelly Keena as our past president and Nancy Troutman as our past secretary, both who are still on the board. The three of us took this idea, turned it into a nonprofit, and now in 2024, we are so excited that we have expanded our board exponentially, one might say. And so I want to introduce you to these amazing women, all of which have a deep connection to the Amazon and now to the Morpho Institute, and a passion for this kind of work, but they all bring very unique and different talents and experience to the organization. You're going to hear from most of them this evening in one way, shape, or another. And they'll give you a little bit of background on themselves, but then also talk about some of our programming. The only two people that won't be with us tonight are Dr. Kelly Keena. Her daughter just graduated from college and they're off exploring the world. And Lindsay Swerk, who's actually our director of scientific research, is actually out there doing research, chasing herps somewhere in the Northeast. So they won't be with us tonight, but you'll be hearing from everybody else. So I'm going to really kick off this evening with, we want to share some of the successes that all of you have helped make happen. Most of you on this call tonight are alumni of our programs or have been donors or supporters in one way, shape, or another. And without your belief in this work, absolutely none of this would be possible. So we're going to share some highlights with you, and I'm going to kick this off with just giving you some metrics about the Educator Academy and the impact that it has had. We will mark its 11th year this year. Had COVID not intervened, we'd be marking year number 13. Some days we count that, some days we don't, but officially 11 years in the field for the Educator Academy. This is our place-based flagship program set in the world's greatest classroom, the Amazon. We have nearly 250 alumni who have graduated from this program, and it is literally the foundation of everything that we do. All of our other programs and initiatives have sprung from that energy that's created in the field through the Educator Academy. It not only offers educators the chance to experience the absolute wonder and magnificence of the Amazon and its biodiversity and its culture and its people, it's also very intentionally designed to build connections back to the classroom. Our retrospective evaluations that were done by Kelly Keena also indicates that it serves to refresh and recharge a passion for teaching and learning in the participants. Rose's work, recent work for her graduate work and her doctorate, also reflect on that when it comes to awe and re-engaging educators into their profession and into the natural world. For me, as the director of this program, one of the greatest pleasures is actually watching teachers and educators lean back into their profession, literally in the middle of the jungle, sometimes under a one light bulb in a remote field station, eagerly and energetically reconnecting with their colleagues as education professionals. It's just a privilege to be a part of that. We've had an incredible run with the Educator Academy for 10 years. But just like a healthy ecosystem, this program needs to and will continue to evolve. We are excited to start thinking about what it's going to look like in its next decade. And we are actively pulling together what I'm going to call our regeneration team to take the Educator Academy into the future. So super, super excited about that work. I'm going to turn it over to Katie Filan so that she can talk to you a little bit about our newest program, the Amazon Research Initiative for Educators. Take her away, Katie.
Thanks. I'm very excited to talk about the Amazon Research Initiative for the Educators that we like to internally call ARI, because I'm a conservation biologist and primatologist, and this program allows us to redefine what it means to be a scientist. And so yes, I'm one of those people with a PhD and have collected lots of data and analyzed papers and sit at higher ed. But to me, we need everyone to be scientists. We need people to ask these important questions about the world, be filled with wonder, and then find ways to answer those questions. And so teachers are excellent scientists, and they are also inspiring the next generation of scientists in their classroom who are also scientists. And so if we think about the foundations of the Educator Academy, we've heard from you all that you want to spend more time in the field asking questions and exploring this amazing environment. We would then think about where we are in the K through 12 education. Many of you are connected to the next generation science standards. And so we're thinking about how we have changed this way of doing science in the classroom. It's no longer that textbooks that's given to people and learning about the research of other people, but it's really about learning through process. And so how do we prepare teachers to do that? Well, the same method of getting them in the field and doing these activities with them. Real broadly, we have three main objectives. It's that idea of teaching teachers to do science by doing. I think also connected to that, it's that really important thing of reminding why, for those of you that are science educators, we got into this field in the first place. I think many of us have that child in us who wanted to be the marine biologist or the botanist, and we love science and we loved education, but this allows us to rekindle and reconnect to who we are and have that space in our identity. Connected to that, as our goal is to conserve the Amazon, we need to understand that biodiversity and set up a place to monitor it. So we have a variety of different projects where we are analyzing biodiversity and as it changes through time and space. And so this is that way that we are then building that database that then can be used by all of us. So really changing that definition of who has access to this data and who can process it. And then, as Ro kind of mentioned, bringing those stories back home, we've designed inquiry projects that then can be taken into your backyard or your schoolyard and really build those connections to connect to your own local environment to really connect with those ideas. So we've had 2 pilot projects in 2022 and 2023. We have already started many of these exciting adventures and inquiries in there. I think for me, it comes down to the stories rather than the data that we've already connected, and watching teachers who don't identify as scientists, then at the end of these 10-day programs, sitting up on the platform and talking about shovel-tailed lizards and sharing all the interesting things they found, and also in becoming experts of these unique ideas. We are very, very excited that in 2024, we are no longer in pilot projects and we have a full team of educators, that are going to connect with these research questions in the Amazon. And then we also have some new guest researchers that are joining the faculty. And so we are very excited to see the results that come out of this program.
Thanks, Katie. All right, now we're going to flip it over to Kirsten Franklin, our brand new secretary and an absolute fabulous educator. And she's spearheading our Classroom Connections project. So take her away, Kirsten.
All righty. Thank you, Krista. As Krista said, my name is Kirsten Franklin. I am a retired elementary teacher as of last June, so I'm coming up on a year of being retired in Petaluma City Schools District, Petaluma, California. Still doing some teaching, though. I go into my former site Thursdays and Fridays and work with TK through 6 students in environmental literacy. So I'm getting those kids outside every other week and doing lots of exciting science outside. I'm excited to be heading up the Classroom Connections, and what I'm looking forward to doing is helping to coordinate the existing and new curriculum resources for teachers, and not just teachers who have been to the Amazon, but also teachers who may never even get to the Amazon. So my first experience going down to the Amazon was in 2015. At the time, I was a teacher on special assignment for Science and Common Core support. And an email came through advertising the Educator Academy in the Amazon. And I first looked at it and went, wow, this looks too good to be true. And was intrigued, but then left it. And then fortunately, I got reminded a bit again. Another email came a few months later, and I decided to go for it. And it was the best decision I've ever made, professionally and personally as well, because that whole trip down there, I think, as you've heard from other speakers so far, the experience, the investigation, the inquiry, and all of the awe down there was totally revitalizing for me. And everything that I'm doing now was a result of being there. So, and every time that I returned from the Amazon, it was with this heightened and restored zest for how do I bring this kind of energy back into teaching, and how do I help other teachers to get down there. The program has offered a lot of different good resources when we're there. And so for myself, I remember, really being reintroduced to Project Learning Tree and Cornell Lab, the Bird Habitat Kit, and the Pacific Education Institute Field Guides. Those are just some of them. It was a great opportunity to be introduced to those materials and then use them when I got back home. The Morpho Institute has a really good array of online resources to choose from and look at on the online site. And then the other thing that came up during the pandemic when we couldn't go down to the Amazon was the workshop that was provided in 2020. So I know that many of you who are here today attended that. That was our opportunity to get some professional development, but also break into grade span teams and develop curriculum. So there's a lot of existing resources and that were created by the workshop and resources that we've been given by the programs. There's a ton of content to look through. And so some of the goals of this committee are to sift through that and organize it and set it up in the most optimum teacher-friendly way so that the teachers can access and implement. Because you can come back from the Amazon and be just so amazingly encouraged and inspired. And then there's that next step of, okay, how do I do this? I'm going to be emailing all of the alumni with an invitation to join this committee and have a tentative date. You can pencil this out in if this is of interest to you, but June 10th around 1 o'clock California time to start looking at this with the goals. These are some of the goals that are in mind. So to clarify what our goals and objectives are for curriculum and how do we best set that up for teachers. We also want to find out how alumni teachers are bringing their Educator Academy and their RE experiences back into their classrooms. We'd like to identify the major priorities and themes and topics for the resource bank that we are developing. And that includes spending some time reviewing and vetting and maybe even culling some of the curriculum resources that we have so far. Another thought is to identify the best formats to house these content resources. And then it's always a good idea to look for potential funding resources for any of this work. So super excited. Curriculum is a really, really important part of what we do, and how to best help teachers have access to quality resources that are going to help them with their teaching back home is the main priority, and look forward to getting this going.
Thanks, Kirsten. I'm going to turn it over to Nancy Troutman now, as the head of the Morpho Mapping Project. Go, Nancy.
So thank you, Kirsten. I have to say I'm excited about this Classroom Connections effort, because we know that the alumni are creatively integrating their rainforest experiences into their teaching in a lot of amazing ways. And we also know that they get inspired when they have chances to share what they're doing with each other. And they can also inspire teachers who won't ever make it to the Amazon, as Kirsten pointed out. So one way that Morpho is amplifying this effort is by offering access to ArcGIS Online, which is the powerful mapping software that's used by companies and agencies and schools all over the world. I want to send a big shout out of thanks to Anita Palmer. Anita, I think you're on here with us tonight. Thank you so much, because she's helped us get free licenses for 2 ArcGIS online mapping sites, one for educators and students, and the other one is for scientists and conservation practitioners. The education site provides a platform for story maps. And if you're not familiar with story maps, they are a really amazingly easy way to weave online maps together with text and photos and videos and any sorts of geotag data. And for example, with Morpho, one of the story maps on our sites shows members of the Mayahuna community carrying out conservation projects like we learn from them in person when we're there in Peru. So it brings that possibility home so that teachers can share it with their students, or people who don't go to Peru have that chance to learn from the Mayahuna. Another feature that I'm excited about is the site includes specialized survey software that the students using this can input data from their field studies, and then these data automatically pop up on a map. As you can imagine, this opens up all kinds of possibilities to compare and contrast data with data collected by students in other parts of the country or even other parts of the world. For example, following the migratory pathways of birds as they come and go through your area with the seasons. Our second ArcGIS site provides a platform for collaboration among nonprofits and scientists. This site displays research data, including from studies we'll be conducting with the ARI program this summer. So we see huge potential for growth in use of both of these online mapping programs. And we're looking forward to working with any of you. I could go on talking about this for a long time, but I'm going to cut it short. Please get in touch with me if you'd like to know more, and I'll be happy to form a committee or make it part of the curriculum committee that we've talked about already. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
I'm back again. I wear lots of hats. So besides being faculty and on the board, I'm also the Director of Conservation and Engagement with the Morpho Institute. And foundation to this program is collaboration, and especially collaboration with the Mayahuna. And so when we think about conservation, when we think about education, we need to start with the Mayahuna. The original stewards of this land, that we are visiting their ancestral lands, their places, and learning from them. And so this is such an important part of understanding these really complex systems and the important role that people play in this system, both in the past, in the present, and in the future. So this collaboration began in 2017 with a partnership, with an opportunity to listen and to learn, and it has grown from that time period. We co-create these learning workshops both in the Educator Academy and the ARI, and then our work expands out of there and provides us an opportunity to learn a little bit about what it's like to live in the Amazon, to live sustainably in the Amazon, and also the threats to their livelihood and these important ecosystems. These are in partnership with the Mayahuna, and everything that we do is about their voice. And then I often think that we're echoing what the stories that they share and the stories that they want us to share. Right now, they're Indigenous lands, which they have advocated, and partly through mapping, and so making those connections that they were able to receive rights that they don't need to receive rights to their Indigenous lands. But now that's threatened with the construction of the road. And so they are really advocating for collaboration and partnerships so that they can conserve these areas. And so this is just a foundational partnership and relationship. And we are so fortunate to partner with the Mayahuna in our work.
Thanks, Katie. And I'll just add to that, that this has just been a joyful experience to get to collaborate with them and to work with the community leaders that lead the workshops for our field participants. It has just enriched and expanded my own understanding of the Amazon and its guardians. And just it's been just such a pleasure to continue that work with the Mayahuna and continue to help support them and build those programs out. I'm going to take it from here and we'll wrap up this celebratory piece. I just wanted to express some gratitude for everybody on here. As I scroll through the list, I know that everybody on this call, nearly all of you have supported us in one way or another, whether it's been encouragement, whether it's been financial support. There is nothing that we can do without that support. And we are so happy for an all-volunteer organization who is just shy of 5 years old. We finally have to file our official IRS long form 990. And as terrifying as that is, it's also super exciting that we've reached that level, and that's all down to you. So $62,000 worth of donations is the fuel behind all of this work that we're doing. And I wanted to spotlight just 3 different initiatives that most of you are probably not aware of. Earlier or late last year, we got word that one of our friends, Dr. Michael Bechtel from Wartburg College, had been nominated to be a Cox Conserves Heroes, and that's Cox Communications. And if he was awarded that prize, he was required to donate that to a conservation nonprofit where that would be applied to conservation work. And so Mike got it, and he was kind and thoughtful and generous enough to share that directly with the Morpho Institute. So we all of a sudden found ourselves with $15,000 in hand that we could use like rocket fuel to really take the Amazon Research Initiative and take that to the next place. It's provided scholarship funding for a number of educators, several of which are alumni, to go back to the Amazon as conservation fellows. It's also supporting the need for us to purchase equipment to even be able to do these field studies. And it's also going to help support some of the curriculum that will come out of that. So these prizes and funding like that, while $15,000 may seem like a drop in the bucket for a lot of organizations, for Morpho, it's a game changer. It really has allowed us to take a program that we were all dreamy and starry-eyed about and turn it into something real and tangible. Now our challenge is to continue to find funding to sustain this level of interest, because without that scholarship money, we would not have 10 conservation fellows in the form of teachers joining us for the RE program in July. Another example of funding that's been critically important to us is legacy funding. And this has taken the shape in the form of the Courtney Wilson Fellowship. And it's having a huge impact on emerging educators and emerging global educators. This gift is in honor of Courtney, a dynamic and wonderful young conservationist and environmental educator who was tragically left us way too soon. But in honor of their daughter, Courtney, the family is contributing annually to the Courtney Wilson Fellowship, which at this point has given 4 teachers the opportunity to travel with us to the Amazon. And they've also recognized the need for Morpho to have operational expenses covered as well. So that annual donation has really made the impossible possible for 4 educators who never would have been able to join the Educator Academy without it. And we are just so honored to be the recipients of this gift from the Wilson family and to help carry Courtney's legacy forward into the future. And then finally, surprise, I was in the Amazon in April, came home to check the PO box, flipping through the mail, and saw an envelope from Fidelity Charitable. And I'm like, okay, I guess I better open this one. And it turns out inside that envelope was $7,500 with no name on it. It was an anonymous donation. So if the mystery donor, like literally, we don't know who you are. If you're on the call tonight, like so much gratitude, because again, gifts like this act like fuel for us to take things to the next level. And gifts like this can have some tags attached to them too. The donor requested that some of that fund go to the Amazon Binocular Project, which is expanding and evolving into the Amazon Community Bird Education Project in collaboration with the Loretto Bird Club. They wanted some of that money to go into teacher scholarships. They wanted some of that money to go into community-based conservation to support the Maihuna. And they even allowed us, if we needed to take some of that money and throw it into our operational bucket. So love the mystery donors, although we would love it more if we knew who you were so we could officially thank you. But if you're on tonight, super, super appreciate that. Rose just going to wrap up this section with a little bit about our scholarships and what we're doing now and what we hope to do in the future.
All right, thank you, Krista. Yeah, I wanted to mention that, for this 2024 cohort, we were able to give out $12,000 in scholarships, and we continue to work towards growing this in the future so more educators can participate. Scholarships are really critical, and in my own personal story, when I wanted to come, I actually didn't have an organization that could support me or a school district, so basically I would have had to take on the whole expense. And actually being awarded a scholarship opened the door for me to attend this professional development experience that would literally transform me in many ways. And just like some examples, I was able to complete my doctoral research. I am able to utilize the Amazon as a global benchmark that helps me connect people to local parallels here in the Central Valley. I was able to redesign 2 of my college courses to actually incorporate some of the things that I've learned and experienced based on coming to some of the PD experiences, but then also working alongside other cohort members and alumni to just kind of elevate my own teaching. And I've also developed a new course that I'll be running in the fall that incorporates these things as well. So my journey continues. It's like a ripple effect, and I'm here now giving back to the organization that has fueled my passion because I know the impact that it can have on others. So yeah, thank you so much for those of you that are supporting scholarships. They are invaluable. And I'd like to share a clip of one of our cohort members from last summer and what she has to say.
I'm Naomi. I'm from Colorado. I'm here in the Amazon, which is absolutely incredible. I am a 6th grade teacher in an elementary school. I wanted to say thank you to the Morpho Institute. I am just so grateful and deeply appreciative of having this opportunity because I received one of the scholarships through the Morpho Institute, and that really allowed me to be able to come on this educational experience with the Educator Academy. And just thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a truly amazing and inspiring and awe-filled experience. After coming here and learning from all the amazing staff and the community, it's just been really inspiring, and it's great to be out here doing real science in conjunction with community-based conservation and some professional development. And so just a message to any elementary educators out there who might feel nervous to do some of these STEM experiences or some of the, what we think of as harder subjects, I really just want to encourage you to apply to this program because it's inspiring. It gives you hands-on, tangible things to bring back to the classroom, and you get to participate in the sciences in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Yay.
So,
I'm Nate from Colorado. I'm
Whoop,
here
whoop,
in the
hold on a
Amazon,
minute.
which is
no worries. So Naomi really brings to light a strong message about the Educator Academy experience being for all educators, and not to let apprehension about science-based explorations hold you back. The reality is that the little anxiousness you might be feeling may actually mirror the same thoughts that some of your students may be feeling about science and other subjects. But being able to shift that mindset can open doors to a whole new level of curiosity, wonder, and awe for both the educator and their future students. And this inspires a desire to facilitate more opportunity for inquiry and critical thought, inviting students to embrace their rightful place in the world of science explorers. So as important as scholarships are in helping to eliminate access barriers, there are some pretty important people that we must bring to your attention. Without their support, Morpho would not be the impactful entity it is today. So on this slide, you see many of the faculty and partners that come alongside Morpho to help elevate amazing experiences and opportunities.
Yeah, and I just want to just layer on that love for every name that's on this slide and every organization that has partnered with us, collaborated with us, encouraged us. It just, none of this would be possible without all of the resources that these organizations bring to bear for the experiences that we're fortunate enough to be able to provide our participants. So again, I'm going to flip it back over to Ro, and we're going to get into metamorphosis.
At this time, we'd like to shift our sights to the new Morpho team. We are transformed from a mighty band of 3 powerful and determined women to a team of 8 forward-thinking individuals who aspire to guide Morpho with renewed vision and strategy. So just as a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, the new board brings a revitalized purpose, reshaping Morpho's future while holding true to the foundational mission, vision, and values. I'd like to ask my fellow board member, Amanda, to share about the new leadership team.
Yep, you're muted. There you go.
Yep. Thanks, Ro. First of all, I just, we've come a long way. So in my homework of trying to prepare for today, I just want to show everybody my handbook. So I first went to the Amazon in July of 2013. And so I think when we talk about transition and being inspired, there's a reason why Krista hasn't been able to get rid of me. So since 2013, I've been involved in different levels. And so the opportunity to become part of this leadership team it's pretty awesome and amazing. You folks heard Katie talk, you've heard Krista talk, and Ro, and also Kirsten, and the impact that these women are having is truly inspirational. I think when we talk about our community and we think about that teacher, who was that person in your life that really connected you? What was that first field trip you went on? Or, when you think about that first experience in nature, who were you with? Was it a sibling, or was it a parent, or was it your teacher? And so I think it's really important to talk about kind of revitalizing what Krista and folks have been doing, Nancy and Kelly, and taking it to that next level. And my goal is that we think about field trips for kids, or we think about youth and getting them outdoors. But the reality is, it's really important for us to get outdoors. When we talk about the importance of how we get out, how we get re-energized, that's what we're trying to do. So some of what we've done is work plans. We've also been able to facilitate pieces and parts to what do partnerships look like. We've also talked about the larger conversation of, cultural values and traditional ecological knowledge. And so again, I think, for me to be a part of that vision, and I loved what Katie said earlier, when we talk about research and who's a scientist, we're all scientists. So again, I just want to say thank you to Krista and Ro for their leadership. And and everybody in that picture. So I think, Krista, if there's anything else you'd like to hit, let me know. But I think the vision and trying to inspire that next generation of teachers to realize they're just as important as their kids is what we're trying to do, educators overall. So
Thanks, Amanda. And just, for everybody, we finally met as a whole board in mid-April. We had not physically all been in the same place. And so this whole Morpho Metamorphosis evening came out of that idea that we knew we were going to have a lot to share. And we wanted to make it public and transparent about the work going on behind the scenes. And this team, we can say it over and over again, but right now we are an all volunteer organization. And so this team of 8 women have literally rolled up their sleeves and are making all of this happen, and have a very strong commitment in getting this organization into its next place. And Ro's going to talk now about that vision for 2030.
Yeah, when getting together at the retreat and considering what's this look like down the road, what does 2030 look like? Some areas of importance emerged right away. And these 3 areas were, the first was just becoming a self-sustaining organization with a really high functioning board and advisory committee. And then being able to maximize alumni engagement. So being able to actively support our alumni. I think now that we have more capacity in the board, we will be able to reach out and make that happen. For example, the curriculum connections that Kirsten will be heading up, that is like huge. That is so important. And one of the things that I learned basically was you don't just sign up for a week in the Amazon, it's for life, right? And so we just see a lot of our alumni just constantly re-engaging, and wow, that just gives me goosebumps. It just does. And the other thing that really kind of emerged was the need to build capacity with paid staff. We have very limited capacity because we're, first of all, we're all kind of part-time in this and we're at a distance. And so we really want to move towards just lifting up some paid staff that can take this even further for us. And there is actually one more very important area that emerged, and I'm going to go ahead and let Krista share that with you.
So, as we've talked about funding and the importance of access and getting more teachers into the Amazon, one of our fourth priority by 2030 is to really increase our educators in the Amazon Scholarship Fund. We know for a fact the greatest barrier to participation for these programs is funding for teachers to be able to travel. For example, this is the first year we've asked on a registration form of prospective Educator Academy participants if they were dependent on receiving a scholarship, and over 50% replied yes. And that is definitely reflected in the roster. There are so many deserving teachers who can and should be benefiting from a program like this that just do not have access to it because of that financial barrier. And that's just one barrier we're trying to overcome, but it's a real one. And so it's easy to start imagining who's in that 50% that's not able to join this group, and what would that look like if they were in this photo. At current funding levels for 2024, we were able to offer $12,000 in scholarships, and our goal is really to double that amount each year, so that in 2025 we award $24,000 scholarships. That's a really audacious goal for this small organization, but we really believe that we can get there. And some of that is thankfully the donors that we already have, and then you all helping connect to other people that are interested in supporting this kind of work. It's not just on our donors and our volunteers too. It's also on Morpho to be creative and find new ways to offer new fellowships. And I am super excited to announce the 2025 Francis Gatz Founder Fellowship. As I have said before, Francis was my mentor. None of us would be sitting on this call tonight if Francis had not answered the call of the Amazon and belief in conservation education. She believes in educators, she believes in education, and she definitely believes in their ability to move the dial on Amazon conservation and conservation here at home. Frances literally gave me the gift of a lifetime when she handed the reins over to me of these teacher workshops back in 2013. And as I've said, we would not be here today if it were not for her. The eligibility requirements are being sorted out, but there will definitely be a strong focus on educators that can take an applied conservation education approach. For now, we have the funds to fund this fellowship for 1 year in 2025. But your support hopefully can help make this an annual award. And so I hope that you'll be able to join us. I don't believe that Frances is able to be on the call tonight. This was going to be a giant surprise for her. So now I'm going to have to like make her watch this video so she can be surprised. But yeah, we're super excited to be in a position where we can actually do a legacy recognition like this for a very, very dear friend and an important part of the Morpho story. So thank you, everyone. I'm super excited. And if you need more information on this, by all means, please let me know. I'm going to pass it back over to you, Ro.
So as we move forward, transformed, we would like to invite you to join us in a way that's meaningful to you. So let's take flight together. So capacity has definitely been a barrier in being able to engage with many of you who have at some point raised your hand to lend your expertise. Now that we have a bigger team, we hope to re-engage with you. And for those of you who have not had the opportunity or capacity to link arms with us, we enthusiastically invite you to join us. In just a moment, we will share a QR code with you. It will take you to a short questionnaire for you to share your thoughts and aspirations. And one of the board members that you saw on the previous slide will be reaching out to you. We want Morpho to reach its full potential, and we'd like you to be a part of that as well. The Amazon needs all of us, and Morpho needs you. So here is the QR code for you to share your thoughts and aspirations, and I believe there will also be a direct link in the chat.
Yeah, I'll get that dropped here in the chat in a second. Let me go ahead and let's move into Q&A while I look for that chat. So feel free to drop questions in the chat, open up your mics. We'd love to engage in a bit of a conversation here. And then we have one last announcement when we're done with Q&A. Oh, thanks, Katie, for dropping that in there. All right, while we're waiting for all your thoughts and ideas, I'm going to go ahead and also drop this in the screen for you. If you are interested in sharing resources with us, helping support scholarships, helping support Morpho, the donation link is here. We also, you can just go to the website. We hope that if you are inspired by this, that you'll also get us connected to your larger network and start helping us share the story of the Morpho Institute. Again, kind of going back to that mystery donor, I have no idea if that is an alumni or if somebody that just randomly found us on the internet and decided to send us some money. So spreading our wings is also a big part of just getting the word out about what we're doing. The other big announcement that we have is that the Morpho merchandise store is officially open. Alumni have been clamoring for this for the better part of 5 years, and we finally got our act together. And so now you too can support Morpho by not only visually with this fabulous logo, but also the proceeds of this are going to go into our scholarship fund. So we hope that you'll take advantage of that. And just a brief history about that logo. It's in this style of Charlie Harper, who was a mid-century modern illustrator who specialized in a lot of natural history work. And he was based out of Cincinnati. And he has a there's another artist now, Scott Partridge in North Carolina, who does very similar artwork in that same vein. And one of the alumni of our very first Educator Academy, Anne Marie Radke, found out how much we loved Charlie Harper and volunteered and donated the funds to get this logo designed. And it still is a showstopper. So we're quite proud of that little blue butterfly. And it's the same Morpho that Francis started with, not the same logo, but the Morpho has been the icon for this work in the Amazon with teachers from its beginning. So just like the evolution of the logo, so too has the organization in our work. So yeah, any other questions or comments, either from the faculty and the board or from participants?
Krista, there's one in the chat about the cost. How much does it cost for a teacher to go to the Amazon?
Yeah, if you look at the total cost, you're looking at about $3,500, including airfare. So that would fund everything for a teacher, more or less, depending on where they're flying from. The programming fees for the Morpho Institute Educator Academy, and that's like the tuition and it helps cover a lot of our faculty costs and resources. That's $825, and then the land fees for ground transportation, food, lodging, all of that is right around $2,300. So, and then you add airfare on top of that, it comes out to about between $3,500, $3,700 per educator. And frankly, we have tried exceptionally hard to keep these costs as low as possible to make it feasible for educators who don't have funding to be able to join us. Let me see what else we got here.
Krista, there's another question about scholarships. Just how much the average scholarship is for.
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. So for example, the Courtney Wilson Fellowship and the Francis Gass Fellowship, those are going to be $2,500 a piece. And those will cover all of the Morpho Institute programming fees and then a big chunk of the travel fees. We also have in the past offered some Explorer scholarships, and those range from $1,000 to $1,200, depending on how much money we have in our scholarship pot. So we awarded 4 of those to the Educator Academy this year. And then we were also, thanks to that Cox Conserve Prize money, able to do something similar for the teachers that are participating in the research project as conservation fellows. So the minimum that we're able to give out through our Morpho Institute scholarship funding is $1,000. And the maximum we're able to give out is $2,500. It would be fantastic if we could get some scholarship money earmarked for the full amount or a more expansive subsidy for more teachers. Did that answer the question? Can't wait to meet you too, Julie. And Julie, thank you. I'm gonna call you out here on this, Julie. Julie Rivenbark is the Courtney Wilson Fellow for 2024. And we're super excited to have her on board and taking that legacy of Courtney forward. So excited for you, Julie, too.
Krista, there's also a question about how many people applied for scholarships.
That's a very good question. It ranges from year to year. It can be as many as 20 or it can be up to 60. I will admit that a lot of our capacity is also the capacity to get the word out about these scholarships. Social media is not as effective as it used to be. That used to be our primary way of sharing that information. And so we still push it out hard through social media. We also reach out to science supervisors and NSTA and the like and try to get on as many calendars and listservs as we can. But we absolutely do need more awareness around these scholarship opportunities, especially when we have more scholarship funding to give out. In my dream, we would be able to have a fully funded Educator Academy, and teachers would be, it would be a robust application process and selection process for a variety of different reasons. So, other questions? Thanks, Nancy, for helping with the questions. Gail and Rob, how many did we turn down this year? Trying to think, we probably had, I have to go back and look at all of the records. I think we had 40 applications. And so we handed out 40 applications for the Educator Academy. We handed out 4 scholarships. So, you know, a very high percentage had to be turned down. And a lot of people don't even, they take one look at it and say, if I don't get a scholarship, there's no way I can participate. And, you know, we keep track of all that to the best of our ability, but great question.
Hey,
Oh,
Krista.
yeah, Fund for Teachers. I see that in the chat too. That has been a huge help to many teachers. They can get full funding. And Fund for Teachers is an excellent organization that provides professional development funding teachers to like create their own adventure if they want. And we have been fortunate every single year we have had at least one Fund for Teachers fellow. Several years we've had 3 or 4 of them. So, and Fund for Teachers is very supportive of our work. So we always encourage teachers to go after that money as well.
Hey, Krista, this is
Yeah.
Janet.
Hi, Janet.
I just want to emphasize something I put in the chat, that $10 a month is 2 coffee cups or, you know, something. And it's been I love seeing on my text that my bank account has been drafted for a small donation every month, and it makes me feel good. And I know none of us are rich, but that I think it adds up really easily, and many people may not know that you can do that. So perhaps you could tell people how you can give a little bit every month.
Thanks, Janet. I feel like this is the NPR session. I appreciate you so much. And yeah, it's simply literally a matter of clicking a button on the donation form. And I do have to say, we don't have a lot of monthly donors, but it's a little bit, it's like we talked about bigger donations being rocket fuel. Those little donations are the ones that like make our little hearts burst every month too, because it's like, oh, hi Janet, thanks for remembering us and keeping that going. And she's right. I mean, that's how I donate to Morpho. I just donate monthly so that it's not all coming out at the end of the year. And I do want to point that out too. Our board is so committed to this work that they signed on knowing that we really want 100% board participation in supporting the organization. We don't have a dollar amount assigned to that, but we all feel very strongly that if we're going to commit to this organization, we're going to commit some treasure to it, to the extent that is reasonable for us and our families, to sustain this organization. So, you know, we're right in there with all of the donors doing that ourselves. So thanks, Nancy. We're Nancy Cowell, appreciate you and your support. So we appreciate you all so much. We are educators, and we typically are quite comfortable living by the bell. And we've gone over time. We like to keep these presentations to an hour. So if there are not any additional questions, again,
yeah, there is
Yeah.
one question
Sure.
which you didn't see. Can you still take more this summer if you get more funding?
We really
Too
need to
late.
start looking ahead to 2025 for that, because we are actually limited by the number of mosquito nets. And so the logistics are already in play for 2024. But we will be opening up registration for 2025 on September 15th. That's how soon we get started. And scholarship applications will go live on September 15th also for 2025.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. Appreciate that. Yeah, Ro, I don't know if you want to end. I will just say again, so much gratitude for the privilege of getting to do this work, and for my new expanded board working alongside me, and for all of you on the call. Just so much gratitude. So Ro, you want to close us out?
Sure. I just want to echo that. Really appreciate everyone for making the time to gather with us tonight, and for all of your support. I look forward to some way, somehow meeting you, whether it's through a committee or seeing you in the Amazon. But yes, thank you all so much.
Yep, reach out with questions, and we will also follow up with an email in the next couple of days with just some of the highlights that we've presented today, and a way to sign up for newsletters if you're interested in learning more and staying in touch. So thanks everyone. Have a lovely evening, and thanks for spending an hour with us tonight.